Welcome to the Smart Dating Academy podcast. I'm Bela Gandhi, the founder of Smart Dating Academy and your host. I started Smart Dating Academy in 2009 because I had this crazy knack of giving people dating advice that actually worked, that I took. I've been married for almost 25 years, and now my company helps people to date smarter and to find love. This podcast is meant to bring more love into your life, no matter where you are and what you do. And we're here to bring more life into your love. Not only is she a best-selling author, not only is she an amazing TEDx speaker with like a bajillion gazillion views on her TED Talk, she's also a very dear friend to me. I'm super excited, dazzled, and honored to have my friend Jill Sherer Murray with us today. Jill, thank you for being here.
Oh my God, Bella, I am equally like levitating from my seat.
I'm literally, can you see me floating?
I can. I feel like, I don't know, like, is everybody ready for us? I mean, I'm sitting here looking at you, as we have done so many times around our TED Talks and just life in general. And I am going to very quickly forget that there are, like, I'm sure plenty of people actually going to be listening to. You might need to like send me a virtual pinch and like, don't say that.
Don't say that. You guys, Jill is one of the most generous. And I hope you go to the Smart Dating Academy channel and watch the video, because she's also stunningly gorgeous with red hair and blue eyes. But Jill is an incredibly generous person that when I did my TEDx talk, offered out of the sweetness of her own heart to help me, rewrote, listen to my talk, coach me, watch me dig my head into a bowl of ice cream many, many times. But ultimately,
happy to join along.
She is amazing. And the reason I know Jill is I was going to say inspire the pants off of you, but maybe in the dating world, we want to keep your pants on. So she's going to inspire you to levitate out of your chair, wherever you are listening to this right now, but she's going to put some sunlight in. So Jill wrote a book called Big Wild Love, because Jill, after 4 decades of being single, found her big wild love. And her story, if I'm thinking about it right now, if I could show you guys my arms, I have full body goosebumps right now. But Jill had walked through quite a path in her life, let go of a lot of things to find her love. So Jill, tell us your story of big wild love.
Yeah, that's quite a lead up. I mean, it's interesting, Bella, like I like to think about my story as kind of like every woman's story, even though I went through so many things. And, I think when it comes to dating and love, unless we are one of the, I don't even want to say fortunate ones, because I have a lot of beliefs about whether we find love early or we find love later in life. But unless we have like this picture perfect, idyllic life that has us floating from like, this perfect belief in ourselves. And then we grow up and we come out of those teen years, and now we're in our 20s and we're like right on the timeline, and we get married and we have the babies and we lose the baby weight. And then we like, age gracefully into our 30s and our 40s. Like nobody does that anymore. We have so many choices in life and love. And we come to all of those choices from very complicated beginnings, especially as women. I know men have their share of things too. I can't necessarily speak always to the men's side. I have an idea because I dated a gazillion, bajillion, quadrillion men for 20 years of my life, one that left me shattered in more pieces than the other from heartbreak, until I finally like stopped looking at them for why they were so awful. And I started to look at myself for why I was making the choices I was making in life. So I got engaged at a very young age. I was engaged when I was like 20 to someone who was terrible. I somehow found the wherewithal to break that off. I went and I got graduate degrees and I moved on, and I dated really poorly all through my 20s. Horrible man who broke my heart for blood sport, until I found a really wonderful guy named Hector, who I dated for 12 years. And when I met Hector, I came to him, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, Bella. I came to him with my heart broken by so many people and so lacking in confidence in terms of, my choices or the belief that I was going to ever find what a lot of my friends had found, which was love and marriage that I really wanted. And so when I met Hector, he was supposed to be kind of a fun fling. He was, really good looking, and he was suave, and he was, really intellectual and exciting. And he wasn't looking for anything serious, and I wasn't either, because I believed I would never find it. So I thought, I'm going to protect my heart, and I'm just going to go out with people that are, quote, safe, who are not going to give me that potential, because then I have nothing to lose. Because I had dated someone right before him who did propose to me and turned out to be a cheater, had a girlfriend in every port. Long story. Was so crushing that I just subconsciously decided that I was going to be that person who was probably never going to find love. And so I was just going to date like someone who was wonderful in every way. And if they couldn't or didn't want more than that, I would be fine. I would figure out how to be fine with that. And so, but it was a lie, because at the heart of things, we want what we want. And there's nothing wrong with wanting love and marriage. I mean, I think we're so taught, like, don't be desperate, don't talk about marriage. Like, it's a bad thing that we want to have this in our life. And, I subscribe to that wholly. And so every year, when I didn't really press the issue or talk about, as we got further into this relationship and it got more serious and we decided to be exclusive, but we never lived together, and all the ways that I wanted this man to be committed to me in ways that he couldn't, never would be. And I knew that at the very bottom of my soul. I knew that pretty early on, but I hung in there because I thought that was all I could get.
Oh, now say that again for the people in the back.
I hung in there because I thought, and this is no slight against him, he was a wonderful man, but I held in there because I thought he was my last best shot at anything.
Who else has goosebumps besides me right now? And I know if I could ask those of you listening, how many of you could raise your hands and say, you've had a moment like this? I think every one of us has. And then what happened, Jill?
Yeah, because we've all had that moment if we've not had that idyllic trajectory that I talked about in the beginning, which none of us have had that idyllic trajectory. And actually, even if we did, it would be crazy boring. We don't want that trajectory. That's not why we're here on life, to have perfect lives, right? We're here to figure it out. We're here to enjoy the road along the way, and to pay attention in the hopes that we do catch the lessons that we need to keep doing better as we travel on that road. And I think, for me, it took me a really long time to get to the place of not holding on because I thought it was my last best shot.
Yeah.
Because, we come to that thinking from a place that has nothing to do with the other person and has everything to do with us and what we believe to be true about ourselves.
Amen. Right? Amen. And Jill, so you dated Hector for 12 years, and in your book, Big Wild Love, which I need to tell every one of you guys, you need to order it like 5 minutes ago on Amazon. But Jill, tell us what that moment was for you. Like you said, you thought you didn't want something serious, but in your heart of hearts, you really did want love. You wanted marriage. You wanted the whole burrito, but you knew you weren't going to get it. But you kept telling yourself he could get there. Tell us about that moment that you so beautifully describe in your book, and what changed at that moment.
Yeah. What changed at that moment is, I think
in the bathroom,
when we're in situations, right? Doesn't everything like really powerful happen to us in the bathroom? Like, don't we come to some of our best? There's actually science behind that. And I actually talk about that in my book. There is a lot of science behind that, but
that is definitely going in the show notes. All good things in life, all momentous things somehow happen in the bathroom.
True. That's for another podcast. But anyway, so I think there comes a point in time in any given situation where we know that the truth is not what we're allowing ourselves to see. Like that beach ball is just rising up inside of us and we can't hold a beach ball down forever, right? Before it like rises up through our windpipe and just chokes us with the truth. And that is what happened to me. Literally that beach ball that I'd been holding down so strategically, convincing myself I didn't need marriage. I didn't need a piece of paper. Who cares about that? I have 2 degrees. I don't even know where the diplomas are. Like, who cares about paper? This person was there. I wasn't alone. And that beach ball just kept rising up, just kept every year after year, because in my mind, I knew that I was shortchanging myself, that I was being, to me, I was being a coward. I was beating myself up for overstaying in this experience. I knew that it was wrong, but that beach ball came all the way up when my boyfriend at the time said that he would go see a condo to live in it, which was like so enormous. I couldn't even get this man to like always commit to going out on a Saturday night, but now he's ready to look at this apartment. And I'm thinking, well, okay, maybe we have some here, right? And I talk about this in the book, in the TED Talk. You know, I went to there and I was super excited and I had all my rose-colored glasses on. And you can probably guess what happened, which is that he never showed up. It was one of the most terrifying moments because I could not look away from that. That is how inner change and outer, that leads to outer change begins, is with that epiphany moment of, I can't look away from this truth anymore, which is that this is never going to happen. And that's when I felt, backed like a raccoon on a deck, like backed into this corner of, it is either me or him. Like, who am I going to choose? Am I going to choose myself? Am I going to take a chance on myself and walk away from this experience that is clearly never going to give me what I wanted? There's no looking away from that now. I'm laying on the bathroom floor in this stranger's apartment, crying my eyes out, wiping my snot with some strange guys, dirty hand towels, and laying there, one of my worst moments ever. And I'm like, are you going to finally choose you?
Wow.
Or not? Nobody's here. You can do whatever you want. It's not like, back then I didn't get up on a stage in front of 4 million people and say, give you my worst dating failure that lead to the greatest choice of my life. But that was the moment, is laying there and just, saying, and if I don't choose me, why? And if I do choose me, why? That's really the whole story.
Wow.
And when you know the why of who you are in dating and relationships, when you know the why, that source of your choices, that's freedom. That's when you begin to stop dating from a place of fear and desperation and start dating from a place of adventure and play and curiosity, where the stakes become increasingly different because you're no longer attached to that. It's like if you're stuck on an island and you know how to make money and find coconuts and take care of yourself on that island, you're less desperate sitting at the shore looking for a boat every day while life passes you by.
Yeah.
It's a boat that may never be coming. But if you don't need that boat, and I'm not saying that we don't need or want love. Of course we do. We all want love. We all need to have love in our lives. We all want relationships, but we don't just want relationships that, by proxy, okay, we've got it, check, move on. We want good, healthy, loving relationships that give us everything that we want. And I had a great relationship with Hector. He was a wonderful man. He gave me a lot, but he didn't give me enough.
He didn't give you enough. And so we're understanding that you chose you. And then what happened?
So I chose me, and I picked up and I moved away. I left everything behind. I quit my job. I sold my condo. I moved away to back to another area of the country.
The only bad part of the story, because she was from Chicago and we didn't know each other then. But sorry, right. I digress. So she left my city to go to Pennsylvania.
I know. Well, once we can get rid of COVID, I'll be back more than you want me to be. But but yeah, and again, I'm not suggesting everybody has to do that, but I really truly learned what it took to let go. To let go, to create and open up space for the things that I wanted in my life. Because when we have things in our life that we don't want, like the port is blocked. And so we can't have other things come in because we're so focused on the things that we've already got and how we are going to survive them. So I decided to blow up my entire life because I knew that if I didn't, it would be too tempting to go back. That was right for me, but there's so many ways for us to let go in love, let go of, the relationship we're in that's just, we know, even if nobody else does, is not working for us. To let go of the, beliefs like Bella, you and I talk about this all the time. I mean, I had a wonderful, wonderful mother. I love my mother dearly and desperately, but she put a lot of pressure on me, like most mothers do to a lot of their daughters, not most, but a lot of women, to be perfectly aesthetically beautiful. Body had to be a certain size, hair had to look a certain way, the pressure that we feel from society to be partnered and married and to not have any mistakes or not make any mistakes. I mean, it is insane. And we carry that, we drag that, we cultivate beliefs based on what we learned from childhood, from our parents. And then unless we, I always say we don't wake up in the morning and we're oh, what's the weather? And what do I believe about myself today? We don't do that.
Right past the orange juice.
Right, exactly. Nobody teaches us how to do that. So, it's really, understanding why we make the choices we make and why we sit inside the ideas that we do, which is, this is the best I can do. I just need to suck it up. Who am I? When I tell people, like I say in my TED talk, my life was pretty good, but it wasn't good. It wasn't good enough. In some circles, that's a line of entitlement. How dare we ask for more?
Right.
How dare we ask for what we actually want and expect to get it?
And that, my friends, is the definition of the S word, settling.
Right.
Right. When we don't ask for more and we keep trying to push that beach ball down, right? And and I know through having Smart Dating Academy for 12 and a half years and listening to the stories of women and men. And when I ask, when did you first know? Or when did you first see the red flags? Or when did you know this relationship wasn't going to give you what you want? Every single person tells me, I knew right away. I knew in the beginning. I knew. It's very, very seldom. I'm sure there's some of you that have been blindsided and things were good, but the majority of the time, when people look really carefully, all the signs were there, like Jill said, from the beginning. Now, Jill, take us through, you blow up your life in Chicago, you leave, you go back to Pennsylvania, and you put yourself on dating sites.
I did. Oh my God. And Bella, I did not have a Bella, which, oh my God, if I had a Bella, forget about it. Geez, that would have been awesome. Yes, I did.
We all need a Bella.
We all need
in our dating lives.
And I'll tell you what, it's so funny because I remember dating sites were pretty new when I had gotten on them. I mean, this was a while ago. And I just remember being I don't even know how to date, let alone now I have to use technology. How do I do this? And I remember the first I got on, so I decided that I was going to be on every dating site. And that I was going to approach it because I'm a journalist. I was going to approach it I'm just writing an article. Jill finds love after 40. I'm just writing an article. I'm just exploring, no biggie. And I remember the first time someone winked at me on Match, I ran into the bathtub, fully clothed, I thought they could see me. I was so freaked out of my mind. I'm what is this? what is this? Like, how am I supposed to do this?
Can you all imagine Jill fully clothed, sunglasses on, hopping both feet over the tub and pulling the shower curtain because somebody winked at her?
I was so freaked out. And you know what? Honestly, like even today, I think there is something that is very like, it's nerve-wracking at first until you get the swing of it, to think that like, somebody is coming at you through a computer. And I know we're used to that in so many different ways now, but when it comes to love, we're so like tender, it like goes to such a deep part of us and who we are and how we're wired. And so, but I slowly got the hang of it, and I made all the mistakes, I'm sure. And I was very lucky or smart in that I was not on the dating sites for very long before I finally met the man that I was supposed to meet, that answered all the questions of why is it taking so long? Where is he already? And I knew what to choose for. I was a fully formed adult who was no longer beholden to a lack of big, wild love inside myself. When I came at that dating experience in my early 40s, I had the mindset of maybe I will never meet anyone to marry. And you know what? That's okay by me. And I don't even say that in a Pollyanna light kind of way, because anything is possible, right? But, I also told myself that if I didn't meet and have the things that I want, that there were so many ways to be happy in life, and I was determined to do it. And that allowed me to be very discerning about my choices and to not fall back into old habits, which I almost did with a few of the guys that I dated and liked, who definitely did not want the commitment and relationship that I did. And you ladies all know what I'm talking about. The ones that are like great on the date, and then once you're gone, it's like, bye. Hear from them, or they call, they like breach like a whale, a couple weeks later or whatever. And there we are, we're ready. Let's go. Give me a jingle. We're ready to go. Right. But I learned how to believe enough in myself and what I wanted in life, and to cultivate that inner love and caring for myself, and confidence and ability to know that being happy was a choice and I could make it, and that I was not a victim, that it was not poor me. Why is everybody else coupled and I'm not? That I was on my own time frame, that nothing in my life was about, looking sideways to see how other people were doing and holding myself up to them. No, because we have no idea what's going on in people's lives.
No, you have no idea. No idea. And tell us about your first date with Dan. I love this story. Right. We always say love will come in an unexpected package, right? He's never going to be who you think he is. So I lead you into that with that.
Well, I mean, my now husband, he showed up at our restaurant that we agreed to meet at. I think my husband is handsome. I thought he was handsome back then. And I got there early. I was wearing a straw hat that my friends had begged me to buy. It was really expensive. And they were like, you look amazing in that hat and you should wear it. So of course I was like, being the defiant, big personality Jill, I was like, I'm just going to wear this hat. And if he doesn't like it, he's not for me. And I could see him. He looked so confused, like finding the restaurant in our darling little New Hope town. And then he finally came in, and he had with him, it was rainy. It was supposed to be rainy. He brought this really kind of nasty looking rain hat.
Rain hat. Okay.
Like,
what's a rain hat?
Pull out of a mud room instead of an umbrella. And I was like, oh my God, this is so adorable. Like, and the funny thing, Bella, is that I could see that his phone went off, and like he reached in his pocket and turned it off. And I know that was his save him call. We talked about it after. And he told me that he was sitting there and he was looking at me and he was like, the hat is so weird that I was wearing.
Because women, we dress for other women. We don't dress for men.
Oh my God. He thought my hat was just the weirdest thing ever, but there was something in him that was like, no, I need to stay here because this woman is different. And when you find the right person, I will tell this to your whole audience, because let me tell you, I dated for a long ass time. Okay.
A long ass time.
All different kinds.
That's hyphenated long ass for the record.
Right. When it is the right person, it does not, at this stage of the game, it does not take long. When you go out into the world fully formed, when you go out into the world with big wild love, you instinctively and reflexively and with great awareness and intention let go of the things that are not meant for you, including people, situations, and anything else.
Anything else, things you think about yourself, any toxicity, you just let that shit go.
You do. You really, really do, because you know that no matter what happens, you will always be okay, because you have you, and you are the boss. Like,
amen.
My ex, who I thought was the boss for 12 years, was never the boss. I gave him the big office.
You gave him the big office, the corner office, the keys.
Right.
And the red carpet welcome.
Yes. And I made him dinner and I cleaned the place. Like, it took me a really long time to figure out what I wish it hadn't, which was that at the end of the day, the things I have in love are up to me. They're the byproduct of my choices. And those choices are the byproduct of what I believe to be true about myself. And that's it.
And that's it.
That's big, wild love.
He got the rain hat. He gave you his rain hat to wear in the rain. He brought one for you. Guys, he brought a second rain hat.
He did. He brought a rain hat.
Can you believe that? Who does that?
He brought one, Bella. Only one. He didn't wear a rain hat. Oh, no. He was too cool for that. He brought me this old rain hat.
Brought you in the rain hat.
And I wore it.
He's like, please take that straw thing off your damn head. Please wear my janky rain hat, because I will find you sizzling hot with that. And
find that hat. I should have worn it for our podcast. I'm sure I still
need to find that hat. And Jill's husband, guys, for the record, Dan, is the cutest, nicest.
Oh, he's wonderful.
Most generous, loving husband. And
he's an elevator person on steroids.
He's an elevator person. And I know that you guys know what an elevator person is, because you've been listening to this podcast. So it's somebody that lifts you up and elevates you and yet keeps you safe and grounded. That's an elevator person. And Dan is the ultimate elevator person for Jill.
And it is not too much to ask for an elevator person in love. The same way we ask for that at our workplace, the same way we ask for that in our friendships, the same way we ask for that in ourselves.
Yes.
And if we're not asking that of ourselves first, we're not ready to go out there yet. We've got some work to do. Because
absolutely,
we role model for the people we date, how we treat ourselves, how we see ourselves, how we champion ourselves, how we are there for ourselves. And that is really hard to come to, unless we're lucky and we're given it as in our childhood, we're given esteem and all these things, or we've had our ass kicked enough that we're tired of looking outward at the world for our solution. It's always in us every single time. And I really do believe that.
So Jill, if you had to give everybody here who you've inspired to know, my gosh, I was that person for 12 years and she let go and I can let go. And she did the online thing and I can do this. And I too can find the lid to my pot, the rain hat to my head, we should call it for you. What would be a couple of things that you could tell people as we level up in this new year? And we all want big, wild love in our lives. And we want that big, wild love across the board. Like Jill said, yes, the lid to your pot, your romantic partner, but everywhere in our lives. So what would you tell us to do?
Okay. So big, wild love. begins with us. It is the self-love with intention that we need that allows us to let go of what's not serving us, to take those risks, because risk is involved with letting go, so that we can create space for what we want. So the big wild love we need to ultimately find big wild love with someone else starts with us. And so I would say this: tonight, when you're drinking your wine, your coffee, your milkshake, your Metamucil, whatever it is, sorry,
your salt water,
your salt water, you're going to take out a notebook and you're going to journal. I'm a huge fan of journaling, not just because I'm a writer, because there's so much research that if you journal, you will change your life and your outcomes. And the first thing is to answer the questions or make a list of what do you have now and what do you want, and look at where the gaps are. Wow. Because that's the gaps are where you need to let go. So it's really figuring out, if you are here, if you are single or divorced and you want love, you want to get here, what is in between you and single and love that is standing between you? Make a list of what those things are, what you think they are. Are they your kids? Are they, shared friendships? Are they the pressures of convention? Are they internal limiting beliefs, which are huge? Like, I'm too fat to find love again. I'm too fit to find love again. I don't choose well to find love again. I'm not lucky. Fate wants me to be single. It's a sign from the universe that I'm not supposed to be with anyone. Like, what are those things? I call them let goables.
So I love that. Let goables.
Which is anything you need to let go of to get from point A to point B. So make a list of what those let goables are. And then as you look at each one of them, maybe start with 3. So if you have, most of those let goables are coming from your limiting beliefs. So what beliefs do you have about yourself and who you are in love and relationship that might be holding you back from getting to that place that you want to go? And journal around them. I promise you, if you do this once a day for 10 minutes and you keep your hand moving every day, you are going to one day be aghast at what you write on that page. And that is when the good stuff begins.
And for those of you who don't have the book yet, I'm telling you, on page 191 of Big Wild Love, Jill puts down 100 potential let goables. So if there's a chasm between where you are and where you want to be, and you really can't figure out what it is, especially internally, that you need to let go of, this list in this book, there are 100 of them. And I promise you, I can look at every place I am versus where I want to be, and I can go, oh yeah, it's absolutely number 55. Other people's voices in my head telling me what to do or who I should be, right? Mm-hmm. And these are things that you need to know and you need to let go of to finally make those big moves for your big wild love.
And I have to say one more thing, Bella, which is really simple for people. If you're struggling to let go of any of the things we've talked about, I would say the very first thing you need to do is to get up in that mirror with love and grace and all of the compassion in the world for yourself, and say out loud what you know is true. You don't have to tell it to anyone else. I know that this relationship is not going to get me where I want to go. I know that I'm scared to be alone. I know that I think I'm too insert whatever to be loved. I know that I'm wounded from X, Y, and Z. I know that I am holding on to this horrible experience from dating that is getting in my way. I know that this is what is true. I feel ashamed that everyone around me has found love in marriage and I haven't. What's wrong with me? Just get it out of your body. And then whatever emotions come what may on the backs of it, let yourself cry. Let yourself feel terrible. Let yourself be shocked that you would even think that about yourself. And then once you get rid of all that muck and all that repressed feelings and beliefs that are miring you down, then you are a clean palette and you're free to start dreaming and envisioning what comes next. But you got to get real with yourself.
You have to know what those things are. You have to know. And for so many of us, we don't stop long enough to understand what those things are. And this is really, it can be a real moment of reckoning, you guys.
Because we don't want to see them. That's why we don't stop. Like I would never stop in the mirror and say, this man is never going to marry me. What a terrifying epiphany. What a terrifying acknowledgement. That was like saying, oh my God, you just took 12 years of your life, like cash dollars, and threw it into the lake.
Right.
There's so much attached to what we're afraid to see. But once we see it, it frees us. And that is the truth.
Amen. So take that look in the mirror, right? Like Jill is saying, and what do you truly believe? What's holding you back? And from personal experience, I can tell you this, when you get to the bottom of what those things are, that's just step one, right? It's acknowledging what those things are. It doesn't mean you eviscerate those things. Like, okay, I grew up thinking I'm too fat, right? And it doesn't mean I look in the mirror and go, I think I'm not dating right because I'm too fat. It doesn't mean that goes away, but it means, how are you going to let go of that and start to love yourself as you are? Or for some people, maybe to get yourself to where you'll feel better in your own skin, but whatever that is, and know that those things can come back and they'll always be the boogeymen and the mind monkeys that jump around your brain. But first, acknowledging them and then having a way to say, oh, that's just the crazy person. I've got crazy Hilda in my head who's trying to keep me down right now. Just name that alter personality and name it a name that you hate, right? Someone like, maybe there's a person, that bully on the playground, and no, it's that person. It doesn't just go away. You're going to have a strategy to deal with it ad infinitum, even in the dating world.
Especially when we go out into the world or life changes or we feel vulnerable, we're going to have those limiting beliefs about ourselves, but we have the power to revise them. And we revise them. We take that I'm too old, or I'm too fat, or I'm too whatever to be loved, to saying I am perfect just the way that I am. I embrace my curves. Whoever I meet, whoever I allow into my life is lucky to have me. I have so much to offer. It's reframing the stories. And everyone says this because it's the truth. It's reframing them. And so to Bella's point, it's the awareness that allows us to know what the story is. We can't do anything if we don't know what the story is we're telling ourselves. But once we know that story, we can revise it to be completely different, because beliefs are only true if we say so. There's no definitiveness to the things, to the beliefs that other people give us.
Beliefs, you guys, let me just break this down for a second. A belief is an opinion.
Right. Totally.
It's an opinion, and it's usually a bad opinion. Okay, right?
Somebody else's opinion.
It's somebody else's opinion. We can have religious belief, spiritual beliefs, intellectual beliefs, but beliefs are beliefs because they are not true. They might be true to you, but they're not inherently empirically true. So a belief is an opinion. And if I give you the data saying, well, Jill, if you don't think you're attractive enough, I think you're gorgeous. So how about we shift that belief?
Right.
Because that's a bad opinion you have that is not serving you. Let's take one on that does serve you, so that you know, if you keep telling yourself, I'm not attractive enough to find love, I'm too fat. Guess what you're going to do? The S word, settle, because you are telling yourself some bogus BS laden story.
And that story impacts our choices in a huge way. So you know what? We can change our story right now. We can change it right now, and we can keep telling the new story to ourselves over and over and over and over and over until we start to live it and manifest it and breathe it. And how we do that shows to the outside world. That's not the reason to do it. But when we start to believe those things about ourselves, those empowering things about ourselves, people are drawn to that. People want to be around other people who are empowered and bold and who like themselves. And, like attracts like, Bella. I mean, if we're not thinking, if we're insecure or we don't think good things about ourselves, that's what we're pulling in. And so the work always starts there. We're not powerless, even though it feels like I'm never going to not feel this way about myself. I'm never not going to believe this about myself. And that may be true, that our reflexes and our impulses always drive us to that place. But when we have that awareness, we can stop the train. We can say, wait a minute, that's old. That was the old belief. Here's the new belief. And I'm going to write it down. I'm going to type it into my computer. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to put it on a Post-it note, put it up on my bathroom mirror. This is my new belief. And I'm going to keep telling myself until I don't have to anymore. It's just part of me.
Absolutely.
And it's not, there's no magic bullet. And that's the really hard thing about this stuff, is there's like not something you could buy to change your belief, or not some like really simple, like one-time exercise. But awareness is so powerful. It was for me when I could track back that I stayed in that relationship because I didn't think I was attractive enough to go out. And now I was older, in my 40s. Now I had a new limiting belief that I was too old. But I had the power at any given point in time to say, no, you know what? I am not a perfect size 6. I might never be. I might have to decompose to get there. But you know what? Who I am right now is wonderful. And you know what? If somebody out there wants to be with a perfect size 6, they don't want me. If someone wants to be with a 28-year-old, they don't want me.
And you don't want them.
Right. That's what I was going to say. And I don't want them. That is not interesting to me. So, it's like not everybody is going to want to be with us. And that's okay. We're looking for one person. Most of us, we're looking for one. And, and that's the other important thing, which is when you have those bold beliefs, those empowered beliefs, it's less about whether they like you and more about whether you like them. And once you get to that place, you're on fire.
You're unstoppable. And let me tell you two things. And a lot of you have heard me talk about psychotic optimism, but if this is your first time to the podcast, I'm going to tell you, if you need a belief, I'm going to fire hose you with a new belief that's going to make you a psychotic optimist. So here it is. Love exists for me. It's a when, it's not an if. Write that baby in red lipstick on your mirror right now. If you need me to hand you a belief, that's the Smart Dating Academy belief. You are a psychotic optimist. Love exists for me. It's a when, not an if. And that will help to power up your speedboat in the right direction. So that is your first belief that I'm going to take out. Am I good enough? Will love exist for me? Am I too old? I'm telling you, love exists for you. It's a when, it's not an if. Okay.
And that kind of thinking attracts like thinking, right? Because you are going to go out into the world now with that fierce confidence that is so appealing to other people who are fiercely confident, because that's what you want. Like, any of us can go out into the world and find any Joe Schmo or Karen Schmarin or whatever to date and be with. I mean, finding a warm body is not the problem. It's like you are looking for quality. You are looking for an equal. So if you are looking for an equal, you need to be at the top of that game mentally, because that's what you're going to find yourself attracted to and attracted back to you. Bella, I love when you always talk about like that heart palp and how we think that's the sign of our soulmate, when really it's like a super red flag when we don't know these people, because we're always going to be drawn to what's familiar and safe. But when we have that fierce confidence, we stop doing that. We might have that impulse. I know I did. But that's when and I tell a story in my book about this, but that's when the awareness comes in. And then like I met someone that, I was beholden to him for 3 dates until I was like, wait a minute, This could be 3 dates, could turn into 3 years, and I'm still waiting for him.
No
This
way,
is just
Jose.
like the situation I just left. Wait a minute. And that awareness spared me. That's how powerful awareness could be. But if I didn't know that about myself or my situation, or I hadn't done all that work to cultivate my big wild love, I might have hung in that situation because I liked him and he was cute and we had fun dates and I couldn't wait to see him again. But you know what? He didn't want the same thing. Bye.
Bye, boy.
Bye.
See you. And that leads to one of the 2022 dating terms of the year, which is called hardballing. And you know what that means? Hardballing, I've just put this together. Hardballing means you're going to state your intentions for what you want. People post-pandemic are looking for relationships. They're looking for authenticity. They're looking for commitment. And so guess what, ladies and gentlemen? When you're out there, after you've been on a couple of dates, it's okay. Jill and I are giving you the permission to say, hey, sir or madam, I'm looking for a serious but fun relationship that could lead to marriage. Is that your intention as well? And if that person looks at you like deer in headlights and said, well, I don't really know what I'm looking for. At that point, you have permission to cut the rope and move on. I want you to be with somebody that, like Jill saying, what I'll tell you what the perfect analogy is. It's the lid to your pot and it fits perfectly. It's not that lid that's like tipped or, you know, just doesn't work. And you're like, oh God, where's the matching lid? The lid fits perfectly. And that means that person wants what you want. And by dates 3 and date 4, if you say, hey, I'm looking for something serious, a committed long-term relationship that leads to marriage, that's fine. That's hardballing. Don't meander like you're hanging out in the wind for 6 months going, well, I think he does. I'm not really sure. No, hell no. This is the year. Commitment, relationships, big wild love for you. You say what you need. And
you know what, Bella, I have to say this because I think this is a really important point to that. When we think about letting go, when we think about using our own big wild love to let go of things, because we're no longer afraid of the feelings that will come when we release things, even if they had value to us. If we are with a person who doesn't want what we want, that's okay.
Yes.
That doesn't make them a horrible person. That doesn't make them wrong. It doesn't make them bad. It just means that they don't want what you do, and you can wish them well and keep moving. Because I find that when I villainize another person in dating for not wanting what I want, that is not helpful. That's not helpful. That just makes me bitter or feeds into a limiting belief that all men or women are X, or all men or women don't want X, or it's so fine to find a good person who X. No, it's just that person didn't want what you did. They might be the greatest person. You know what? Hector was a wonderful man. He was a wonderful man. He just didn't want what I did. And who am I to vilify or say what another person should want from their life? But we can choose with love in our hearts to release and let go with love in our hearts, because that's good for us, so that we don't walk away from the experience feeling a sense of bitterness or leaning on that victim mindset or those broad generalizations of, see, look, all men or women are X. No, that's not true either. And I really think that's so important, especially in the world of dating, as we look and make choices about what we hold on to and who we hold on to and how we feel about the process and what we choose to let go of. And so the people that I dated in the online dating process, there were a few that liked me more than I liked them. There were a few that I liked more who obviously didn't like me. You know, but all of it, I moved through all of it, unless someone was really awful, and no one was. I moved through the process in a very gentle way. And I was always very careful to let go of people and situations that were not right for me. And I know this is going to sound really like woo-woo, and I don't mean it that way. with a sense of love and kindness and compassion. Go ahead, go deal with your life. You're not for me. Thank you for showing me that. Thank you for showing me that, because that's just allowing me to reinforce my own goals and intentions.
You know what we call that? Bless and release.
Okay.
Bless them and release them back into the pond. Bless and release. Bye. And
right.
This, I literally feel like we could talk for another 17 hours, which I know we can. And I know you're going to be back with us, Jill. Is there any inspiration, anything you'd want to tell our listeners? I know you've given some amazing advice already. Or is there any other last minute, like, go do this, that you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah. Go out into the world of dating and please have fun. This is, so I know this is not like this profound, like,
so good.
We are here in life for such a short period of time. And love is not meant to be torture. It's meant to be,
let's make t-shirts out of that.
I mean, there needs to be an acceptance and a willingness to embrace come what may, with a healthy distance, a healthy sense of detachment, which is really what letting go is all about. And not making it about us, but just kind of getting on the raft, and like choosing which way on the river we want to ride, and letting life and love surprise us along the way, because there's no marathon here. There's no, this is not the Hunger Games.
There's like, no trophies for finding love on Tuesday.
Right. There's no trophies. Like, it's all part of the process of our lives. And so dating can be a really joyful experience, even if it's not about finding the one tomorrow. And so, use that act of letting go and of release to know that you're not stuck anywhere. There are no definites about large groups of people, that you release the idea that you don't have the power to not only choose well, but enjoy yourself along the way.
Oh, goosebumps, full head to toe. I love me some Jill Sherer Murray, and
love you back, my Bella.
You guys did too. Thank you so much for joining us, Jill. And thanks to all of you for listening today. And as always, download us, give us that great 5-star review, because Jill is amazing. Order her book on Amazon, Big Wild Love, and subscribe to our newsletter at Smart Dating Academy, smartdatingacademy.com. Lots of free information. You'll see who's coming up and all of the things. And of course, follow me on Instagram to join in our Instagram lives. We are here to bring more love into your life and more life into your love. And we will see you next time on the Smart Dating Academy podcast.